Alright, so this is my third book, which is called Crooked Corrections, and I'm Jeannette Toussounian. So, for those of you who don't know me, I spent a couple of years incarcerated at Vanier Centre for Women in Milton, Ontario. I spent a little bit of time in Lindsay and in the Ottawa Carleton Detention Centre as well. I was wrongfully convicted, but I couldn't really do anything about it while I was incarcerated. You're kind of trapped in there, which really sucks. So, while I was in there, I wrote 9 books because I had to do something with my time. So, it was either write books or I could get diagnosed as mentally ill, take the medication, and get drugged out of my mind and sit in the corner just all blah 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 blah. So I'm mentally ill, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. So I decided, no, I'll write a whole bunch of books and, do art. Since this is the stuff I went to college for and it's my career, I might as well continue my career. Nothing's going to stop me. So the first book I published was called Songs for the Slammer, and it's a collection of poetry and sketches that I did while I'm in jail. Actually, there it is right here. So I wrote everything in this book with these little tiny pencils, which I drew at some very last page. Oh, pencils. So, golf-size pencil. I wrote all 9 books with that. My second book that I released is The Human Kennel, right there. So, oh god, thank you. It's The Human Kennel. And these were the journals that I wrote. So it's a 1.5 years worth of journals. I started journaling about 5-6 months into my incarceration, when I realized I'm not going to get out of here. This place is nuts. And I think people on the outside really should know what's going on the inside. So I wrote my journals, and I wrote them in a way where people can read it and it will bring you in the jail. And everybody who's read it says, yes, I've read this book and it's brought me in the jail. This is exactly what you experience, and everybody gets to be institutionalized with me. So, those were my journals, and it took me forever. It took me months to tape them up, and that was pretty cool. So, anyways, I've been out of jail for about 4 years now, and I had intended while I was in jail to publish 3 books. The first 3 books being all about jail. I did 9 books, but the other ones were like nonfiction, children's books, a film script, and everything. And so this is my final of the series. Now, what this is, it was just going to be purely essays, and several of the essays I wrote in complete full, had it edited and everything, and I published it in here. And the other ones were in rough notes that I had compiled everything together. Well, 4 years after being incarcerated, trying to take these rough notes to try to put them into essays was not working because I was no longer in an institutionalized frame of mind. So as I'm going through all the notes, I'm reading all these little notes, and I'm like, well, the little notes are actually kind of cool to read, and it brings you in with me, and I think people need to see my little notes on scraps of paper. So what I did is I actually did the actual wrote down the ones that I completed, and then just threw in the noteworks of everything else so you can actually read what I have going on. So it works really well. For example, this one is called The Prostitution Myth, and so I wrote part of the essay of which I started writing in good, and then I wrote the rest of the brainstorming notes, which completes my thoughts. So they're interesting to go through because you get to see my scribbles and everything like that, and I find that people really enjoy that. So I'll read some stuff from in here. Unfortunately, me reading directly from things I don't sound too good at. Let's see. Which one? Oh, here's one. Here's just a little note on a piece of paper, which I think I had intended to write to a lawyer. I think I actually did end up writing it to a lawyer. A lot of the letters that I sent to people, I wrote several times in a row and then I sent them a good copy. So the stuff that I published was probably like the second to the good copy that I sent out. So I think this one I meant to was a lawyer. Dear Andrew, I couldn't get legal aid for my trial because I make about 40 grand a year gross on my taxes. So I had no choice but to defend myself, as I had no money for a lawyer. I ended up getting convicted with no evidence against me, and the judge fabricated evidence for his reasoning. I was going with a Toronto law firm to do my appeal, but all they did was file it when legal aid refused funding, despite the length of time I've been idle in jail. Legal aid also refused an appeal to fund me, and then a letter of reconsideration. So that's just me writing to a lawyer saying, I can't get legal aid. Actually, it repeats in a few of my letters here where I'm saying I can't get legal aid and I can't work because I'm in jail. So how do I supposed to pay for a lawyer? And it's an ongoing theme in here. What I ended up doing was publishing stuff like, here's the ombudsman. While I was incarcerated, they told me to wear a bra. And I refused to wear a bra because I know you can't tell a woman to wear a bra. It's against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So what do you do when you're in jail and they're doing something to you that everybody goes, oh, call the ombudsman. So I wrote the ombudsman, and the letter I get back, dated April 11, 2012, so this is just still, I got in February 15th, 2012, so this is at the beginning of the incarceration, before they sent me down to maximum security and segregation. This is in response to your letter written from Vanier Center for Women. You complain that the facility uniform policy requires inmates to wear bras. You complain that the policy is unfair and discriminatory. As you may be aware, the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services has an internal complaints procedure to help you deal with problems that you may be having in the facility. As such, you may wish to address your concerns about the uniform policy with the superintendent by submitting a request form. You may also wish to call the Client Conflict Resolution Unit at 1-866-535-0019 to see if they can provide you with any assistance or further direction. Generally, it is the practice of our office to follow up with the facility or the ministry if you identify a problem that is urgent and seriously affects your health or well-being. As such, our office will not be making inquiries with the facility at this time in regard to the issue. The Ombudsman continues to monitor complaints received from inmates in correctional facilities across Ontario. Our office may follow up with individual facilities or the ministry if a serious systematic issue is identified. We appreciate you bringing this matter to our attention sincerely. So I actually have a lot of things. I didn't publish them all, but I have a lot of letters from a lot of ombudsmans and a lot of members of parliament and a lot of places that's supposed to help people while I'm sitting there suffering. So it's like the best thing they could do is send you a letter going, here, we will refer you to these people because we can't do anything. If you actually look at all the letters I have in here, you have everybody referring me to everybody else. And then their responses referring me to the last person who referred them. So it basically shows that there's all these people out there to help you, but what you're doing is you're actually stuck alone trying to help yourself. None of these people actually help you. They have all these wonderful slogans about, we're helping people, but they're not. No, none of them are. And one of the biggest things nowadays is, oh, we gotta help all those poor people who are in jail by putting them now in mental health facilities. And it's like, that's going to help these poor people. And it's like, really? So you want to basically change people from one institution to another. You want to repackage people from being incarcerated to being incarcerated. That's basically it. And it's completely useless. It's all it does is bring it from, one sector to another, but all it is controlling people. It's the control over people. Like, when I was in jail, I would say that, like, maybe a small little percent was actually, you know, dangerous people who I don't want to run across in a dark alley somewhere, but most of the people were just poor circumstantial situations, stuck in jail. A lot of them were innocent and just pleading guilty just to, you know, get everything over with, which really sucks. But, wow. Here's some notes, eating disorders in jail. I never wrote the essay, but my note says, eating as an activity / program, stress eating, overeating, and binging. I am currently about 60 pounds more right now than I was before I was incarcerated, and it's been like forever trying to lose the weight. It's not working. So I ended up having an eating disorder and eating everything in jail. I've been a mentally ill person or had any type of disorders before, so that was a big one. So women end up purging, they end up binging. Let's see, food is main focus, trading commodity, a meal for a sticky bun. Let's see, apparently it's 3,600 calories a day, but all it is bread, pasta, potatoes, cheap empty carbs. For example, one dinner is lasagna, which is on top of potatoes with bread on the side, so yeah. So most of the women, if you see them eating bread, some of the women would be addicted to bread and they'd be eating bread, and you know that they're purging it afterwards, because that's why they're eating so much bread, and it becomes almost like an activity or something to do, and it's really disgusting, because you'd rather be doing other things with your time rather than that, or starving themselves because they don't like the food or whatever. Let's see, hoarding, you hoard condiments and food. Pavlov's dog, salivating when the meal cart comes, running to the cart, butting in line, stomach grumbles right before the food comes on schedule. It's supposed to be to the Canada Food Guide. That alone is a joke, but it wasn't even close to that. Like, you don't get enough calcium, cheese, or iron. Waste of food, thrown in the garbage, thrown out food in cell searches like apples and oranges. Unhealthy, leads to health problems, gain weight. So basically, like, you're allowed, I think, every couple of days they'll give you a piece of fruit in in your tray, which is not enough. You're supposed to eat like 4, 5, 6 pieces of fruit a day, like fresh stuff, right? Not like one every couple of days. So I was trying, but they'll give you like donuts, at least one donut a day, which is absolutely horrible. For a lot of the women who were junkies, if you're off the drugs, you end up craving sweets. So it was good for those women. To tell you the truth, they'd come in all skinny and ragged looking, and once they got more food, they actually looked healthier. But if you're a person who's normally likes to eat healthy, it does the opposite effect. So, you know, I'd be trying to hoard, you know, my apples and oranges. So, like, if it's apple day, I would be trying to train my donuts to get apples. But if there's a cell search, they take them away because you don't supposed to keep food in your cells. So if I'm trying to get, like, enough so I could eat, like, at least 2 pieces of fresh fruit a day, you know, and a cell search comes or a guard catches you, like, you have to hide the food under pillows and stuff like that, because if they see it, they just come and take it away. And one of my friends was a Buddhist, and you're supposed to be able to be free to practice your religion in jail, and the Buddhists, you're supposed to have fresh fruit for in front of like a picture or statue of Buddhists, and the picture is supposed to be above you. So she was always trying to get a picture of Buddha and put it on the cell wall above you, and you're not allowed to have pictures on the cell walls. In Vanya, the jail I was in, when I was transferred to Lindsay, they allowed you to have like a little small section of the wall to put stuff on, but so they would be tearing down her picture of Buddha and taking all her fruit, and she'd